I think it's a comfortable place to be, and you can avoid the vulnerability that goes with either initiating intimacy or having intimacy or whatever the case may be.
And that's where we have to get some Amish on the show to talk to them about what their intimate lives are like, what they do at night. Like, you know, do they really focus on each other after the lights go out? I suspect it.
Welcome back, everyone. Craig and Jonah here today. So, health and health and intimacy. We were talking about that before we got on here, and Jonah was just commenting on how he's just become a young teenage stallion again.
It's true. I've been working out more. Like, I work out pretty much every day, sometimes even twice a day for a little bit. And I
Wow.
got Olympic rings in the basement, and I love those things. Like, they work muscles that you didn't even know were there.
hmm
You do a lot of different exercises. Like, I really enjoy them. But one thing that I think about is, why on earth am I doing this? You know, like I'm like 42 years old, and I work out like I'm training for something, but I don't know what I'm even training for. Just trying to get in good shape. But then
hmm
you'll see these sort of things on Twitter where somebody will talk about bodybuilding being immoral because it's, prideful. And I saw a priest respond saying, you should just take that time that you're using towards bodybuilding and put it towards prayer. And the thing is that I don't really call what I do bodybuilding. That's like an insult to bodybuilders. But the issue is that our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. And when I work out, I feel a lot better
hmm
and I'm able to do more.
hmm
So should we really? There's nothing wrong with prayer, obviously, I still pray, and you could pray while you work out, perhaps.
Right.
But I just have a hard time with the argument that you should just not do it at all because it's something that could be prideful. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to be prideful, and I'm not saying I don't like looking better either, because you do to some extent just naturally.
hmm
But there's also a spiritual pride where, like the Pharisees, I'm praying, the Lord loves me because I am just praying and fasting all the time. That can be dangerous as well.
I mean, I think everything, even the best of things, can become a source of sin or vice to us if we don't have proper order and balance in our lives. I think that's right.
And
Um,
and physical pride is probably more superficial than spiritual pride because your physical pride is going to wear out over
yeah,
time. Like, you're not going to stay in shape forever.
right.
And perhaps if you die when you're in peak physical condition, I guess that.
hmm
But spiritual pride can last till the end,
Oh yeah,
and you would never see it.
and I would say, and perhaps be a bigger barrier to growing in grace. I think that probably creates more of a barrier between us and God, and us liking how big our biceps are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so
Because too, with this is actually interesting too, like to think about. But no matter how great of a bodybuilder you are, you could be Arnold. Well, not many people can be like Arnold, but there's always somebody bigger and
yeah,
stronger than you. Whereas spiritually, you could think you're top dog.
yeah, right, right. No, I totally agree. I think the risks associated with not taking care of yourself are far greater than the risks associated with working out too much and becoming too fit. Like, I don't know. Give me that problem, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
God forbid I have to, keep myself humble with despite six pack abs.
Yeah. That that's really funny.
I uh I get
See, that's something St. Francis may not have even had to do. I don't know.
right. Yeah.
Trying to reach new levels here of, striving for humility despite your success.
I will say, so my wife and I we're actually doing the same diet plan now, which has actually been a really good growth experience for us too. I think it's helped our marriage and our communication.
The diet has helped your marriage.
Yeah, I highly recommend doing what we're doing, which started out is it's geared towards women. I think it's geared towards, let's say, postpartum women that had a child and want to maybe cut some pounds and get back to more healthy. And my wife started it very successfully and lost 30 pounds or so and looks outstanding, like legitimately so. Not that she didn't look good before, but she looks really good now, and she feels much happier with herself. And I tell you, it makes a difference. Strong, strong advocate
It's
of
a
that.
glowing review.
Yeah, yep. But then I wanted to cut some weight too. In part, I was gonna see if I could just one last chance to have some abs before we go out to California. I sit on the beach for a week, but the abs
You got a
haven't
few
happened.
days to
Yeah.
get her done. Maybe if you don't eat.
Yeah.
Between now and then.
Wrap myself in plastic garbage bags until then.
Yep, that's what it takes.
So, yeah, pride. I don't think pride's going to be a major problem for me in this area when I go out there. I don't think I'm even going to be able to go shirtless. So,
It's good to be humble.
yeah. But I tell you, I think our health, especially my wife's health and feeling good about herself, has been extremely positive when it comes to our intimate lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think we underestimate the impact that, especially for women, their self-esteem and how they feel about their bodies can really interfere with how much they want intimacy.
No, I have heard about that.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's real.
Dolores has talked about that as far
Yeah.
as some of her friends have talked about it.
Yeah,
So
I think that's real. So, I think we should be certainly encouraging our spouses, especially our wives, and of course you got to be tactful about it. Um, but I think women in a special way, moms have to be okay with saying, you know what, this is important to me. Yes, raising children's difficult. There's lots of chores, and that's all true. But there's nothing wrong, nothing unselfish about making a commitment to yourself. I think in the long run, it's better for your children. It's better, that
mm-hmm.
you feel good, look good, that you have a good relationship with your husband. So
Being motivated to do something is powerful.
absolutely.
In reaching those goals.
Right. So that's maybe a good segue to the alternative is, well, is there any what happens if you're not having sex? Does that is that good, bad, or otherwise? Now, this video I'm not going to endorse. I cannot endorse this video because it's not taken from a Catholic perspective, but I think it raises some interesting points. So Jonah hasn't seen this. Someone sent this to us, I think, in our Discord group the other day. So I wanted to play some of this for you. So we will start and stop and kind of go through this a little bit.
It's in the news, in the YouTube videos you watch, and practically every television show or movie you've ever seen. But what happens if you never have sex? Would you explode? Would you die? The answer might surprise you. Even if you don't know what you're missing, your body does. It's important to remember that everyone is unique and everyone's body will react in different ways. But let's look at some common physical and mental side effects of never having sex. First, we'll look at the physical ramifications to the body if someone never has sex. There are a lot of misconceptions about what'll happen to your body from lack of sex, which we'll debunk later. But the truth may be even scarier. Men who have regular sex and ejaculate more frequently have a lower risk of prostate cancer. This means if you never have sex as a male, you're actually at a higher risk of getting prostate cancer. The reason for this is because humans evolved, like all living things on this planet, to be reproduction machines. Whether you like sex or not, your body's main purpose is to reproduce, because that's how all living things evolved. The body needs to release old sperm in order to create newer, more viable sperm, just like with other.
That's actually, I actually think that's an interesting argument. If procreation is our goal, or it's some, especially as Catholics, one might say that regular ejaculation is going to help towards that. You're going to be getting rid of the old stuff and bringing in fresh soldiers.
Sure seems like guys are masters of self-preservation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
got to do what you got to do.
It's right. This little image here. Just watch.
Equipment, if the male genitalia is not frequently used, there can be problems or a breakdown in the system. It's not yet clear what the precise cause of prostate cancer is, but studies suggest that men who have frequent sex or ejaculations tend to have a lower risk. So if a male never has sex, he should be at least masturbating. This will be a common theme here.
I think I'd have it scrolling, but do not take theological advice from us. But
Nor the videos that are being played.
yeah, we're just a conversation piece.
Because some of the benefits of sex can also be obtained from self-release, but not all. Either way, if you're a male who never has sex, you should consider doing regular prostate checks. For females that never
Are we allowed to promote prostate checks? I think we're okay. I think we can
I
do
think that is okay, yeah.
as long as it's a male doctor, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
have sex, there are different repercussions to the body. Sex strengthens the pelvic floor muscles that support the bladder. If a female never has sex, they may find themselves with a weak bladder. This could lead to
There you go, ladies. We're just here for your own health. We're just looking out for you.
Yep.
leakage or incontinence. Sex is a physical activity, and the muscles involved need a workout every now and then. If you never have sex, these muscles aren't exercised, which leads to them becoming weaker. Turns out that if females are not strengthening the muscles used during sex, it can lead to negative effects on other body systems. That being said, females can also achieve the benefits of sex from self-pleasure as well. It turns out that in humans, just simulating the act of sex can trick the body into providing many of the benefits associated with the act. Another negative effect women who never have sex may encounter is that the vagina may be drier than someone who is engaged in sexual activity. This is not necessarily a problem other than it can be uncomfortable. So if a female has never had sex and feels discomfort in her genitalia, it may be because of a lack of lubrication around the muscles and organs. Again, this problem can be solved by masturbating. At some point in their life, someone who has never had sex may want to engage in the activity. If this is the case, the lack of sex in previous years may hinder the carnal act. If someone has gone their whole life without having sex, it could take longer than expected for arousal to begin. This could happen because the body would be feeling all new sensations, and since they would be different than anything felt before, it could take a while for the necessary fluids to flow. This seems counterintuitive, since you would expect someone's body who has never had sex to be raring to go. However, the longer someone goes without ever having sex, the longer it takes for the body to prepare for the activity.
What is happening there?
I don't know.
It's like there's some cougar hunting thing going on. Like,
Try not to read too much into the graphics and ignore 90% of what's said here too, please.
Your body needs to create and dump hormones into the bloodstream and then increase the blood flow to areas of the body that have never or very infrequently been used. This can take a while, especially for someone who has never had sex before. Whether someone is male or female, never having intercourse can be connected to higher blood pressure. There are several studies that show people who have regular sex tend to have lower blood pressure. Therefore, the opposite can also be true. Someone who has never had sex may have higher blood pressure than if they did have coitus. The most likely reason for this is because there is a correlation between having sex and the lowering of stress hormones in the body. If a person never has sex, those same stress
I like the use of the word coitus there. Just kind of switched up.
Yeah.
Sex constantly, then coitus. Just
Yeah,
gonna go with the Latin there.
Right. I don't think they ever say conjugal act anywhere, but so
I love how the little hearts flow from people's heads when they're aroused, which
yeah.
be more clear if that, happened in real life.
Yeah, right. Give me a sign, honey. But I think that whole aspect, I mean, there is clearly a chemical, hormonal, physiological benefit to sex and or orgasm, right? And stress reliever and all that kind of stuff.
And this is just on the individual level. This
Mhm.
isn't looking at the marriage level. Like,
Yep.
there is no way that you have as good of a marriage as you could if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have sex. And I know they're going to bring up Mary and Joseph and all that. That was a different situation.
Yeah.
I'm talking modern marriages.
Yep.
I just don't see how it's possible. I mean, sex in marriage is a not a cure-all, but it really helps everything function better.
Yeah, I think for me at least, the stress, just the added stress, I don't know if it's cortisol or whatever the stress that goes with extended periods of abstinence, is real. Like it
Hmm.
really it is a significant
It wears you
weight.
down.
It wears you down. Like
Yep, it's
I
just
don't know
like
how.
dragging a grappling hook
Yeah,
along behind you every day.
yeah, yeah,
Just getting caught in branches and
yeah,
on rocks. And
yeah,
if you have frequent intimacy with your wife, everything, every single aspect of life is
yeah,
so much easier.
yeah. And this is where I really get annoyed when the let's say the more vocal trad like anytime you talk about whether it's solo or other acts or like all you want is just some pleasure. Like I don't think for most people that's really like yeah, it may be pleasurable, but that's
It's not it though,
not
because the solo activity isn't as beneficial as intimacy with your spouse.
yeah,
Like they're not even comparable
right, right.
as far as making things better in your everyday life.
Hmm. Yeah. So let's go on.
Stress hormones will be higher. Someone who has more stress tends to have higher blood pressure. This is a serious health concern a celibate person should be aware of. They should absolutely find other ways to lower their stress levels and blood pressure. Like we've said before, this can be done through masturbation, but there are other options as well, such as meditation. Again,
Can't do that either. Can't do yoga and stuff. So sorry.
Well, I mean, and to compare that stuff with yoga or meditating. And maybe, the Catholic version is prayer. And that's fine. But again, do you have to live in the desert to free yourself of all these temptations and just the desire to be with your wife?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a lot easier just to be intimate and
Mhm.
just live a happy life.
I think for most people, that's the most natural solution to the problem.
and our bodies evolved to be sex machines, therefore they expect to have a release every now and then. High blood pressure would definitely be a negative side effect of never having sex, but there is something else that sex might help your body with that you weren't even aware of. Having sex, or more specifically having orgasms, has been linked to benefits to someone's immune system. Psychologists Carl Charnetsky and Francis Brennan Jr. conducted a study where they took saliva samples from people who frequently had sex and those who did not, and found some surprising results. In the patients who were having sex, their saliva contained higher concentrations of immunoglobulin A, which is an antibody used to fight off the common cold. Therefore, there may be health benefits to the immune system of someone who is having sex. If this is true, then someone who has never had sex may find themselves getting sick more frequently than others. The reason for this boost in the immune system may have more to do with the close proximity to another human during sex than the act itself. So, unfortunately, this boost to your immune system may not be something you can get from masturbation, since it's only a party of one. So it would seem that never having sex may have
Some angry looking
Yeah.
solo activity going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doing it all wrong.
Really grinding it out there. I'm not sure.
You gonna offer some tutorials there, or what do you think?
No, maybe it just looked different than I expected. But
It's not what I imagined it looked like when people do that.
well, there's a lot of clinics there too. I don't know.
negative physical effects on the body, but what about the mental effects? Are the people who never have sex at risk of having higher mental health issues? Since everyone is different, there is no absolute definitive answer, but someone who has never had sex may be at a higher risk of certain negative mental health issues. As we said before, the act of having sex releases certain hormones that lower stress levels in the body. This can be achieved through masturbation as well, but another important mental health benefit of sex is the feeling associated with physical intimacy, something that cannot be obtained through self-pleasure. Someone who has never had sex before may develop what psychologists call skin hunger or touch starvation. This is when lack of close physical contact
It's kind of the 5 love languages, and some people's being physical touch. So
Marriage isn't a cure-all for that either.
Right.
results in negative mental health issues. The intimacy
Speak for
during
yourself.
sex
Yeah,
cannot be
go on.
replicated even if someone spends a lot of time around other people. The physical contact and sensations during sex are sometimes necessary. If someone has never had sex, it could cause their body to react negatively to the lack of intimacy. It would not be surprising for someone who has never had sex to feel isolated or insecure. This could be caused by an imbalance in hormones in the body due to a lack of sexual contact. The change in chemical composition of the body from sex is not just because it feels good or pleasurable, but because it's something intimate and shared between individuals. If someone who has never had sex is feeling depressed or lonely, even if they're surrounded by others, it could be because their brain is craving intimacy.
that kind of goes to what you were saying before, about just the the value it has to the marriage and how it just improves everything, and it's not simply because it's pleasurable. Like
Mhm.
it just
There is a distinct connection that occurs that can only happen through intimacy, at least from the male perspective. I don't know what it's like for women, but
Mhm.
and it's important,
Mhm.
like so important that it can't be understated. I
Mhm.
mean, it's one of the main reasons that men get married is to experience that kind of connection
Yeah.
with a woman.
Right. Right.
And that's where I really wonder, it's going to get off on a side tangent here, but whether like watching Netflix at night is a greater sin. It's like people aren't being scrupulous enough in thinking that they can just sit down and watch TV at night without focusing on their spouse.
Mhm.
Because I think if most people took that time to give their spouse a back rub or just talk and cuddle, like that would go a lot further than just mindlessly entertaining yourself by watching garbage. And can that be sinful? I don't know, but I doubt many people are confessing it. I don't see it in the guides to confession. So
I think it's I think it's a comfortable place to be, and you can avoid the vulnerability that goes with either initiating intimacy or having intimacy or whatever the case may be.
and that's where we have to get some Amish on the show to talk to them about what their intimate lives are like, what they do at night. Like, do they really focus on each other after the lights go out? I suspect it's possible.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I think who knows. We
It,
could be surprised or we could be very unsurprised by what life is like.
yeah, I'm sure it depends on each couple too,
Mhm.
but I suspect that they're more likely to be focused on each other without having a TV or a phone in their
Oh
hand.
yeah.
There's less distractions,
Mhm.
and really, I think that's why sex was made to be so attractive. Was that so at the end of the day you
Hmm.
would be together at night?
Get
I
that?
mean,
Yeah.
I think so because like they say that things like your phone or watching whatever you want on TV that releases dopamine. Whereas before we had those technologies, we couldn't get that kind of dopamine hit with other
Mhm.
than through sex,
Yeah.
really, or
Right.
pleasurable
Right.
activities, which were very limited to,
Right. Right.
very limited in scope compared to what we have available to us now.
Yeah, I mean I think here I'm going to step way outside my area of expertise, but I think there's that evolutionary biological craving for that dopamine hit that it gets satisfied by many things other than sex now because we have all these things, whereas those folks that are living without all that, that is their pathway. There aren't all these other distractions.
And people are having less sex more now than ever before.
Yeah.
And people are clearly unhappy,
Yeah.
just in general.
Yeah. Right.
And so I don't know what the solution is, but I think there is
That could be the
some
chicken.
sort of causation.
It could be a chicken and egg problem. I mean, if you're unhappy, you may be having less sex.
Mhm,
Because
that's
you're having
true.
less sex, you become less happy.
But it is a lot easier to get that dopamine hit just sitting there watching a program that you enjoy. There's, like you said, there's no risk of being turned down or, talking about things about your day that might be difficult or whatever. Like the kinds of things that you would do if you were laying there with your spouse talking. And I think that's how it's supposed to be.
And they probably sleep better too. I mean, that I think that really our modern technology and stuff really interferes with sleep habits and things like that. Amish have been working hard and they
Work
play
hard,
hard,
play hard.
play hard before they go to bed. They sleep well, and
Well, and they haven't gotten to this yet, too, but like, it definitely affects sleep as well. Like, I think you sleep a lot better.
Oh yeah,
after
absolutely
an amazing night with your wife.
Mm-hmm. Especially for men. I get sleepy. I sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Well, we'll see if they get to it.
Okay.
In these cases, we only have evolution to blame yet again. Our DNA is selfish and wants to be passed on to the next generation. Therefore, almost all of us are programmed to want to have sex. One way our body tricks us into copulating is by rewarding us not just with pleasurable physical sensations, but with mental stimulation as well. The brain of someone who has never had sex could be starved for intimacy of it. This, in turn, could cause negative side effects to mental health. So really, for someone who has never had sex, their brain begins to rebel against them. When your brain is fighting you, it's going to be a bad time. However, as mentioned before, everyone is different. Some people actually don't need to have sex at all and are still healthy and happy. This can be because of a low sex drive or that the person is asexual. The human brain is a magnificent thing and can even overcome our biological urges in some people. In others, the brain may be programmed to just not crave sex, and for these individuals, never having sex most likely comes with no side effects. There are misconceptions based around what happens to someone who has never had sex. So let's break them down. Someone may have told you that if a female doesn't have sex, their vagina closes up. Not only is this untrue, but think of how many other complications that would cause for that person other than not being able to have intercourse. A female who has never had sex will most likely have a smaller opening to the vagina than females who are more sexually active, but there's absolutely zero chance the vagina will completely close up. Even females who have never had sex still produce sex hormones, which
I like how their heads are always bobbing, like that Saturday Night Live skit, like, Night at the Roxbury. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, it was Jim Carrey and Will Ferrell. Oh, and Chris Kattan, actually. That was just Jim Carrey's only in it for one episode. But yeah, whenever they walked in the nightclub, their heads were always shaking like, they can't see me. I don't know what's up with the head bob.
means that although there may be discomfort or negative side effects from not having sex, they are still able to do so at any point during their life. What it comes down to is that everybody's body is different. Some people may choose to never have
There's
Is
the
that-
celibate preacher, it looks like.
Is that Augustine or Thomas Aquinas?
Yeah. He's got a pile of money there. What's going on?
That is funny. Well, I suppose, if he doesn't have a woman in his life, he has money, maybe is what they're
Yeah.
saying. I don't know.
He's got a quill in one hand and doesn't show what's happening with the other hand.
He
so,
doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not sure what that's supposed to say. And why does he have a piano out in the field?
Yeah.
Or what is that? Or is that like just a lectern
Yeah. Out in the
out in the wilderness? Not
Yeah.
sure.
sex and can still lead a long and happy life. They may have to find other ways to mitigate some of the negative side effects, such as lack of intimacy, but it can be done. We know masturbation can produce many of the positive benefits of having sex. There are some risks to never having sex, such as a greater chance
That poor woman. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on there, but she's very distressed.
Yeah.
Not sure how the doctor's going to help her out in this case. Looks like the beginning of a movie.
Yeah.
of prostate cancer in men and incontinence in women, but we live in a time where there are medical options to combat these negative side effects. What'll happen to your body if you never have sex? It just depends on who you are. But for most of us, we'll feel discomfort, mostly in the genitalia, and we'll probably feel lonely or more stressed even if we are around other people. Sex is literally in our DNA, so although it may not be necessary, it could be hard to avoid. Now, check out what is persistent genital arousal.
Is it in our DNA or is it, original sin, I guess?
Well, I mean, be fruitful and multiply. That came before original sin.
Yeah, but we did it asexually, I guess. We just spawned each other.
You know that's not true.
Traditionalists say it's true.
All of a sudden sex was invented during sin.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be one of the most ridiculous thoughts. All of a sudden she eats from the apple. Now she wants to have sex.
Yeah.
She's been going through this the whole time. No sex.
Yeah.
Eats the apple. Now she's just dying for sex.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It seems to me like there's a very sexually repressed person somewhere came up with that theory.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do sometimes wonder how much of these concepts and ideas we have came from well-balanced people or people with some real disordered issues in their life.
Mm-hmm. And they just happen to be the only ones that could write.
Yeah.
So we had to live with these rules 1,500 years later.
Yeah, it's like the St. Augustines of the world. Is that really, does that represent most good, decent, normally functioning men and women? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Most of us don't have that kind of a path, and
Mm-hmm.
but those are the voices that get listened to, I guess.
Yeah.
make the rules.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, if you want to have a good marriage, I don't know how you have one without intimacy.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, maybe I'm just that
Mhm.
fallen or broken or whatever. I don't know, but
Mhm.
if, when we have in our relationship, when there is frequent intimacy, there's less bickering, less tension. I can't speak for how I look, but my wife looks younger. Like, and we talk about that, and I don't know. It just makes everything easier and better, and it affects every aspect of our lives.
I don't understand. I don't see the negative side effects other than getting pregnant, I guess. But I just don't understand.
Which shouldn't be a negative side effect,
Right.
and it isn't for
Right.
the most part. But when you have, like
Right.
you said, 9 kids, I mean,
Mhm.
eventually there gets to be medical risks and health risks for both the mother and child, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
it's easy. It's not easy to weigh that out.
Right. So I don't know. It was kind of an interesting video, and some of it I think makes some sense. Some of it probably isn't
I
all that
think
compatible with us as Catholics.
the
But
emphasis there was or it wasn't an emphasis, but there was a lot of discussion about solo activity, and I just don't think that that is good for a marriage in general. I mean,
Mhm.
if there's a reason, like focusing on the marital act
Mhm.
is much better for the marriage than
Mhm.
just people going solo or
Yep.
whatever.
I mean,
And you don't see the benefits within the relationship.
yeah, and the video certainly didn't say that solo is better than any of those other things,
true.
and I think that's right. I mean, any benefit that might come from that is present in mutual act,
Hmm.
mutual, marital act or whatever, and then some, right?
Hmm.
Like I don't think anyone would really dispute that.
Yep,
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I agree.
So we're here. We're just doing what Catholics do. We're taking the pagan ideas and baptizing it with.
Just like coffee.
That's right. Yep. We're turning it into something good. So
Hmm.
it's be interesting to see what the comments are on that video. So
Yep.
anyway,
All right.
well that was kind of a fun conversation.
It was.
So anyway, well, thank you, Jonah.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening, and until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.